Good evening, everyone.
Good
My
evening.
name is Cindy Bonnier, and I'm President and CEO of the Fremont Chamber of Commerce, and it's our pleasure to welcome you here today to our mayoral forum. We have with us our candidates, Naz Khan, incumbent Mayor Lily May, Justin Shaw, and Vik Bajwa. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge our sponsor, and that's Robeson Homes. Thank you for your generosity in helping us promote this and produce it. And I want to, for the candidates, again, review the forum rules today. We ask that you be formal and cordial with all the fellow candidates. Refrain from any personal attacks or responses that are personal in nature. Your response is going to be limited to the question or topic, and as a business organization, our questions will be focused on business issues dealing with the city. Please adhere to the time allotted as mentioned above. We will provide a timer for you. If you interrupt another candidate, your microphone will be muted by the moderator. That's me. And for the purpose of this forum, please share your vision for Fremont. We want to hear what you plan to do moving forward and how it's going to benefit Fremont. There will be a 2-minute opening statement for each of you. At the end of the forum, there will be a 2-minute closing statement. Your responses to the questions are 1 minute. And we will allow a rebuttal of 30 seconds at your request, but you are limited to 3 rebuttals throughout the session, and it will be at the discretion of the moderator. So with that, we are going to get started. And we just drew at random who we start with, and that is going to be Naz Khan. So Ms. Khan, would you please get us started with your opening statement?
Great, thank you very much for having me here tonight. It's a pleasure. My name is Naz Khan, and I'm running for as a mayor of Fremont. Not only has Fremont been my home for over 15 years, it's been my version of American dream. It's where I, as a single mother, raised my son from a boy to an active duty soldier in the US Air Force, and where I found not just one, but 2 great careers. That is as a banker by day, as a manager at the US Bank, and a radio host by night. As a radio host, I talk to thousands of people about their problems, and as a banker, as a manager at the US Bank, I help thousands of people solve their problems, which is their financial issues, the first-time home buyer problems, buying businesses, to selling businesses, to sending children to school. But now those problems are faced by crisis here that we are facing one after the other. The Black Lives Matter, the COVID-19, the pandemic has threatened the health and the jobs and the social unrest that is ripping apart our communities as well. And unfortunately, our leadership and our community is facing what it is right now, the accountability and transparencies in the city government. And our rents are skyrocketed, homeless is out of control, and many other instances of violent crimes is also ruining the quality of life. I'm running to keep promises, not just to make them, and I'm here to solve problems, listen to people as I'm a good listener, not just to avoid them. And I'm running out as a family-based campaign as to make Fremont's family first. And I'm here to transform our city and make it much transparent, much beautiful, much cleaner for businesses to prosper, to have zero homelessness, and also to make everybody feel home and happy.
Thank you. Mayor May.
Good evening. Thank you for the wonderful opportunity to have been able to serve our community for the past 4 years as your mayor, and previously to have had a partnership with all of you, whether it's on the school board or on city council. I'm proud to call Fremont my home and have been able to raise my 2 MIFs made in Fremont. My children are now 23 and 19. But living here in our community, we are facing unprecedented challenges at this time. We've had the pandemic, civil unrest, wildfires, and the economic impacts all related to all those issues. But that's why it's important for us to work together. I am proud to have been a participant with the Chamber on so many of these efforts, which are so critical for us right now, from everything in terms of providing PPE, so we don't just execute health orders that are coming from the county, but we can ensure that we are being kept safe, to ensuring that when it comes to issues like homelessness, the best way to prevent homelessness is to prevent it from happening in the first place, and keeping our businesses at the heart of our community functioning well is important for us. So that means things like adapting our development processing so that we can permit and have online inspections, to allowing things like partnerships with the policies itself. And this is an ongoing conversation. I look forward to this continued effort and for us to partner in terms of working on these solutions. And I will be able to share a lot of those with you today. And we look forward to our things that we've done, such as our pop-up restaurants. And right now, as we're looking at how we reimagine the connectivity for smart cities, the city didn't just get brighter a few years ago. We have doubled down on our climate action plans, our park plans, master plans, and ways that we can reimagine, re-envision, and reopen safely together. Thank you for this opportunity to share, and I look forward to another 4 years of working with all of you.
Thank you. Mr. Shah, your 2-minute introduction.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Justin Shah, candidate for Fremont Mayor. I'm the Democratic choice in this race. I'm supported by the local Democratic clubs, including the Tri-City Democrats, the South Alameda County Young Democrats, the South Alameda County Progressive Democrats, and the East Bay Stonewall Democrats, as well as statewide organizations like the California Young Democrats. I have bipartisan support. I'm endorsed by newspapers like the Bay Area Reporter and Amritsar Times. I also have strong business and community support, and I am endorsed by groups like the Bay Area Cricket Alliance and the Sikh Community Organized for Political Engagement. In this race, I am the diversity and equality candidate. I'm endorsed by the statewide organization, Equality California, as well as the national organization, the Victory Fund. So these are my endorsements, but who am I? I am a businessman and currently the VP of a global IT company headquartered in Warm Springs called Droises. I also teach as an adjunct professor of business law at Ohlone College. I give back to my community. I have volunteered for the CIO Scholarship Fund, charity golf tournaments, and Meals on Wheels as a volunteer driver. And I also serve on the Ohlone College Foundation as a board member, and I'm also the chairman of the 501c3 Asian American Millennials for American Advancement. I graduated with honors from both UC Hastings Law as well as Dartmouth College, where I served as president of my Dartmouth class. Most importantly, I am a product of our community. My priorities in this campaign and as mayor will be public safety, overdevelopment, and transparent government, which would include removing a lot of red tape for businesses that currently exist in this city. I'm running to create a brighter future for all Fremont residents, and I look forward to tonight's forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shah. And Mr. Bajwa, your 2 minutes.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for having me, and thanks to Robson Homes for sponsoring a good event. As you mentioned, you know, this forum is dedicated to your vision for a business in Fremont. So as a businessman for the last 20 years, I really strongly feel about these small businesses which are on the verge of closing or have closed down. The best way to get things going is to have a good plan, like San Francisco has one. It's the task force, which we haven't been able to create one. So that's first on the agenda. Two is waiving some of the permit fees, encouraging people to have home businesses, because everyone's, you know, operating from the homes, but there are certain things that they need permits to get their rooms done, expand their rooms, put an office in the garage. So all those fees should be waived. On top of it, you know, we have a percentage which is called the business tax, city business tax. So we need to defer that for about a year or so. So keeping that in agenda, that is my opening statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Our first question, we're going to start with Mayor Lily May. And Mayor May, the question is, what led you to seek public office? And you have a 1-minute response time.
Sure. Much like many of you, I got involved with politics or representing our community for something that's close and near and dear to my heart. And for the reason why we chose the city of Fremont was for the quality of education. So as a parent, I looked at the overcrowding that was occurring in schools, and it spurred me to attend the planning commission meetings and the city council meetings at that time to listen and observe and better understand the process. But as my children entered into the school, having been involved in a lot of the better practices as a worldwide sales controller for tech companies, and just in looking at the parents' concerns, I felt it was important for us to be able to provide the advocacy and the voice for the community to ensure that those concerns are being addressed. And so it was my privilege to be part of our Fremont Council PTAs, our school site councils, safety patrol, emergency preparedness. And then when the time came right and there was an opportunity, I decided to run for the school board, which then, as my children got older, allowed me to serve on the city council, and now currently to be privileged to be representing you as your mayor.
Thank you, Mayor May. Mr. Shah, what led you to seek public office? 1-minute reply, please.
Sure, thank you. I got very involved in the community 2 years ago in 2018. I actually was on BART driving home to my house on Mayoral. There's like that tunnel, and it took me 30 minutes to drive less than 2 miles. It was infuriating. But, you know, I would say traffic congestion is a very big one. Overdevelopment, you know, at that time on Mission Boulevard, there were 10 different developments happening, and, you know, tractors would be coming out during rush hour, and, you know, it's just poor planning, I would say, as well as social equality. You know, I was very upset with what happened in the schools with the sex ed debate, and that also spurred me to get involved. I would say that, you know, for, you know, just in general, I really want the people's voice to be heard and empowered, and I think that we need more of that, you know, in Fremont. So that's also why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shah. Mr. Bajwa, same question.
Thank you, Cindy. The first grasp I had an inkling to do something for the community was that our leadership had failed in Fremont when I saw 25 years of police records being purged just before days of the governor's new bill coming in place. And those records were of immigrants, minorities, Sikhs, Hindus, Muslims, Chinese, name it, all the community. And those records, according to one of the old retired police officers, there were files of about 800 people, which were an injustice to them. That was one of the main reasons. And the second one was the homelessness. I saw that for the last 4 years, nothing was done for them, nothing at all, period. And we had so many opportunities. We had funding which was coming in $3 million a year.
Thank you, Mr. Bajwa. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then Ms. Khan, what led you to seek public office?
Thank you very much. So I was traveling during this year, and all this time I've been as an outsider seeing what's happening in the city. And when I returned, and on one of the nights, I was just scrolling through to just find out about what's happening with COVID-19 visibility. And I couldn't find much of the information about what's happening with Black Lives Matter and also with COVID-19. And so it really made me feel like if the general public, if common people can come up and come about and make a difference and ask for so many changes and show their concerns and really get agitated, that's what made me feel like that somebody needs to go out and take up this challenge. So I wanted to go for a city council for my District 4. Unfortunately, that's not up for this election. And when I went to the city office, then I found out that's only mayoral campaign. So that's why I ended up running, just because of all the issues that been happening around our city, overdevelopment, the people been complaining, congested traffic in schools.
Thank you for your response. The next question, we are going to start with Mr. Shah. Out of the 37 council meetings in the past year, or approximately 37 council meetings in the past year, how many of you attended?
I've attended quite a few remotely. I watch from home on TV and on my laptop, and I've spoken at several as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bajwa, same question?
Yes, I am in the home health business, so my hours are very variable, and unfortunately, I could not attend any meeting. But I was there when they were looking for a place for homeless shelter. So I was in that protest, and I was in the George Floyd's Black Lives protest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Khan.
So can you please repeat your question?
Oh, of course. Out of the approximately 37 city council meetings in the past year, how many of you attended?
So I have personally not attended any of those, but I I was virtually able to see that, and I was able to hear that back after the recordings and some of the posts that I was able to see from the media that was out there online from you guys, from the city department.
Okay.
Many of these things were, unfortunately, it was not very like communication failure had been around in the city, so it was not very much welcoming, or the way that people should be communicated or sent out information so that we could get onto any of these meetings. So there was not much of information sent out to us, so we really didn't have information until later on when we started getting ourselves.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Khan, before we go on, it sounded like your volume changed and I'm struggling to hear you. Did something change?
No, I didn't.
No?
Anything. Oh.
Okay. Okay, we'll just keep an eye on that moving forward and see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mayor May, can you please answer that question?
So of the 37 plus meetings, approximately, I
Yeah.
think I've attended every one that I'm physically here. There are other occasions that I'm not here, but the only times I'm not here, usually I'm away representing our city on other business, whether it's with the National League of Cities, U.S. Conference of Mayors, or for our own city on different issues. I think it's important for anyone who wants to run to recognize that besides these meetings that we attend on the city council, we also are a part of many different committees and commissions. And that's important for us to have a voice when it comes to issues like transportation, like the recycling stop waste, East Bay Community Energy, and many different other initiatives. Because when we work together as a region, those types of voice get to be amplified. And last night is a perfect example. I was on the Alameda County Mayor's Conference meeting, and we were proposing a letter to be spoken and shared tonight at the ABAG MTC meeting, which is going on currently.
Okay, thank you, Mayor May. And the next question, we are going to start with Mr. Shah. Mr. Shah, what is your #1 top campaign priority if elected?
There are many issues in Fremont that I care about, many issues indeed, and I think that it could be grouped into, I would say, an equation. On the one hand, we really need to prioritize the quality of life of Fremont residents, thinking what is the purpose of government and are we meeting it? The second, on the other hand, of the equation is balancing the needs for our future. So overlaying all of that, and I'm a very big picture strategic thinker, is government transparency. Because without government transparency, without accessibility, accountability, and so forth, we cannot serve Fremont residents. We can't even have the discussion. We need to start making sure that we get public input for a lot of these things, getting business communities input, and actually doing something about it, and not just, taking down an intake form for statistical purposes and no action being done. So government transparency is the big macro issue for me. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Shah. Mr. Bajwa, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, I'm fine, Cindy, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So my first priority would be to establish a Fremont Recovery Task Force for COVID-19. #2 would be Fremont Police Commission. That says it all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Khan, before you start, would you say just a few words so I make sure I can hear your volume?
Thank you very much, Cindy. How are you?
Okay, good. Thank you so much. Okay, the question, I'll just repeat it, is what is your #1 top campaign priority if elected?
Elected right now, we are facing COVID-19. So my priority is post-COVID economic recovery. We really do need to revive businesses, small and medium businesses. We need to revive that. We need to find jobs so people can get back to jobs. I want to see that our families are happy and get back to life. So we need to make sure that we're able to somehow provide companies, businesses, especially small and medium businesses, loans that city government can provide them at a lower market rates, and we can tap into the regional side, so regional cloud, to get more additional funding so that we can start businesses, so we can at least have jobs also for people within Fremont or outside, and optimize the city services, such as giving them permits and licenses to begin with, and some counseling as well for businesses that needs to stay open and some that needs to be closed, and also mental health services that we need to provide to businesses as well.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. And Mayor May, same
Sure.
question. Go ahead.
So, thank you. As a former Boy Scout involved with Scouts, I'd say be prepared. So to be ready for any emergency and how it impacts us. And when we faced COVID or the wildfires or this social unrest, I think that because we were prepared, that allows us to be able to flex and respond. So it's things like that preparation that allowed us to be able to better address the budget, because last year we had added additional revenue to that so that we could be better able to look at unanticipated budgetary impacts. And in this case, the unanticipated pandemic. Health and wellness, to make sure that when we had supplies, I have had weekly calls or now bi-weekly calls with our local healthcare providers to ensure that we had the necessary beds, PPEs, that we have an ongoing dialogue with the chambers of commerce as well as with the historic business districts so that we can help to be able to respond in the case of some potential social unrest, to protect our communities so that they wouldn't get vandalized and that we could ensure the best protection for our communities possible.
Thank you. The next question, we are going to start with Mr. Shah. And Mr.
Three in a
Shah,
row, Cindy?
I'm sorry?
Are we doing 3 in a row, starting with Mr. Shah? I'm fine, no problem.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been marking things to try not to get off. Okay, so then we start with, you started last time, Mr. Shah?
I started the last 2 times, yeah. I'm happy to do a 3rd time, not a problem.
No, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I got off track here. So I'm going to start with Mr. Bajwa, and thank you for telling me that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Bajwa, we talked about coronavirus, or you've already mentioned coronavirus being one of your top priorities, but it has left businesses, big and small, in increasingly volatile and weak position. If elected, what would be your first action as mayor to support businesses as they recover?
Cindy, establishing a Fremont Recovery Task Force COVID-19 lays the foundation for all concerns for small businesses, especially retail and restaurants, which is like 60%, on the verge of closing, and they have been, just living on a weekly basis. And the second one is expand the home office program. I believe, we can do a lot there, because most, like for the city hall, they have 970 employees, and according to their occupancy right now, they cannot have more than 100 employees there. So what are you going to do? You need to give them incentives for a good home office. They cannot be having a home office in their bedroom or in their living room or in their dining room. It has to be a separate office where they can function properly for 8 to 10 hours. So those incentives, without any, hassles, should be granted, and without any fees, because as a city, they charge a lot of fees when you want to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Bajwa. The time's up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Khan, same question.
So for COVID-19, I would say to have follow through the guidelines that we have currently, and also have more of the visibility so that we understand what other changes are, to understand where we are going and how many infections are out there, and businesses to get more into automation mode. Some admin work can be done automation, and certain businesses will stay open, but we need to have more of the free drive-through locations, many locations, so that we can have on-site registration and some testing done right away. At this time, if we are going through the testing, we have to call our doctors and our care provider, and we have to understand whether we have our insurance or no. So we're concerned about that. And regardless, because we are given the opportunity to have the testing done, whether you are employed or not, or we need to understand that we have more of the facilities for quarantine facilities also, and checkpoints and permits done, and abide by the laws of everybody, whoever's.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. The time is up. Mayor May?
Sure. So some of the things that we did right away, which I think are critical for us, is that we waived the penalties and interest on any late payments for business taxes. We set up a business assistance hotline for COVID-19 related impacts. We created links to financial resources, technical assistance, and labor and workforce policies. We encourage remote workforce technology solutions. We fast-tracked the zoning of permit approval processes so fast that some of our businesses, instead of taking 4 to 5 weeks, were able to open in less than 1 week with an emergency council meeting. And we provided small business grants. When we had community block development grants available from federal and state, we applied those directly to our community to ensure that the businesses stay open. And we flexed and changed as necessary, whether it's through the online permit inspections, or this year, when we did our manufacturing day, rather than doing it in person, which I'm very proud that we had 30% of the last year's in Fremont, we did this our first ever virtual event. Whether for that or for career fair, we are able to adapt to open and to help our community.
Thank you, Mayor May. And then Mr. Shah, thank you for getting me back on track. Same question.
Thank you. I like the idea of a task force. I'm really all about community crowdsourcing and that kind of concept of getting the public engaged and their input involved. I really want to do a Fremont app that actually works, remote bookings, what businesses are open, and also reaching out to all of our businesses to make sure that no one is left out in the dark, especially our businesses who are not native English speaking. There is the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Relief Fund, that allocates money to different governments. And we need to make sure that Fremont gets that, and because the county actually is not required to transfer all funds. So you need a leader who will be willing to work with regional leaders. We have the Fremont CARES Act, and the application for these programs have actually already closed for many months, and it's obvious that we need much more investment. And I also am in favor of closing streets for restaurants, especially those without the actual patio for outdoor dining. There are many ways, but I think it's all about asking what the business community needs and then delivering.
Time's up. Thank you so much. And this question, we are going to start with Ms. Khan. And the question is that the Fremont Chamber believes that first of all, let me preface this by saying this is regarding Proposition 15, which is a split roll tax. The Fremont Chamber of Commerce believes that the exemptions for small businesses do not provide enough broad protection, and small businesses will be severely impacted, potentially causing some to close. So what advice or assistance would you offer to small businesses that are impacted by Prop 15?
So by Prop 15, small businesses and residential properties are not impacted because it only applies to commercial properties and businesses. Those are with the 3 million and up. So for small businesses, this will not going to be any issues. If you are, unless are having any transactions or businesses that you run over 3 million, then yes, it will. But otherwise, businesses who are doing the commercial type of transactions, then they have to pay their fair share of the property tax. So that is a reason why it's there, so that we can close all the loopholes. So that's why we have Prop 15. And homeowners should not worry about it as well, because that's also impacted only for 3 million and up. And so how we can take care of that is to follow through the guidelines and allocate at least 40% of every dollar used to make public available. And we want to make sure that we disclose all the information that are sent out to.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Mayor May.
Sure. So actually, we had a revisit on this conversation just the other night on the council meeting, which some of you may have seen. The conversation is in terms of the need and funding, which is critical for our schools and so many of our community programs. And the idea is to try to apply that equally so that it would be able to support some of those resources that we need in our community. And I'm personally supportive of that. And it came to a discussion before the council, which it did not have the support for the council to take action. And there are a lot of concerns I know that have been expressed, and I really appreciate the chamber members and those who've come to speak on this topic. Because what is going to happen is not just the tax that's being applied, but how it impacts our small businesses is a concern. People might say that it's not going to attract or impact them, but when a large property owner has an impact to their business and their ability to function, some of that will be passed on to our smaller businesses. So therefore, we want to be able to partner with the chamber on resources that can help support that.
Thank you, Mayor May. Mr. Shah.
Sure. I think that one thing we always need to keep in mind is that we need leadership who is consistent and transparent on these issues. I'm all about growing on issues, but it's one thing to grow on issues, but then another to tell different groups different things at different times, whether you support Prop 15 or against Prop 15. I've personally watched, Mayor May's evolution on Prop 15 from support to against to support, and now, now she's expressing grave reservations about it as of the meeting yesterday. And don't get me wrong, I think that we do need to support all of our businesses, but as Ms. Khan mentioned, it really affects those whose property values are 3 million or higher. And that's not to say that there's always the margins and the bottom line. I get it. We just need to make sure that, is it worth it? And should we support it for the community? That being said, the question was, how do we support our businesses? We need to work with the county, we need to work with the city, and we need to work with the chamber, and we can get a solution done. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Bajwa.
Cindy, Prop 15, as they had discussed in the last meeting, council meeting, I watched those notes there. They did not come to a conclusion. That shows you what kind of leadership we have right now. And COVID has been there for since March, and so has been Prop 15 for quite some time. We need a consensus on how to go about it. I would ask as a joke to Mr. Elon Musk, why he wanted to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma, leave Fremont. So these things, they need to be seriously thought of, and not just giving a lip service in the council chambers or to the community. We need to seriously think about it to come December, when everyone is in a good place to do it, whoever might be. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Bajwa. The next question, we are going to start with Mayor May. And that question is everyone is entitled to their own opinion, yet the divisive culture we are in today prevents any dialogue of differing opinions. How would you react if a council member or constituent had a differing opinion on an important matter?
Well, I think that having had some practice with this, whether it's with city issues and certainly with school issues, nothing gets more personal than people's children. But I strongly believe that we must learn to be able to respect and listen to others. And that it is a very much a challenge at this time period in our political discussions, that there are going to be opposing views. But when I come to the council meetings, which is important for how we make our decisions, there are 7 of us and we each represent different perspectives and ideas. But it's the ability for us to listen to those inputs, the data and information that's given to us by staff, as well as most importantly for the community to come to the conversations. I've heard this evening, sometimes people are not sure where the information or decisions are being made, but they're pretty consistent. They're at our council meetings. And also when we have discussions, whether it's for community plans, for parks, or for policing or social justice, or the climate, we want you to join us because your feedback is important to our community.
Thank you, Mayor May. Mr. Shah.
Thank you. This is a great question. I'll bring up the topic of the HNC, the Housing Navigation Center, the Homeless Navigation Center. The mayor was nowhere to be found for 1 month. She would not meet with constituents. She would not talk with people. She would not respond to emails. Other council members had to take up that burden.
Mr. Shah, before you go down that road, we're more concerned about how the city council interacts with constituents.
Right.
So how would you react with a constituent is the question.
So I would not ignore people.
Okay.
I think that's the key thing here. It's, you know, and if you could give me another 15 seconds so I can continue, but
go ahead.
You know, it's really just the lack of transparency with government that people perceive. And that is the problem, because perception is reality with the city government. And in general, we need to have an ability for residents to feel like their input is heard. It's all about the process, starting from the beginning, having good process, and making sure that we don't make it seem like the city is talking down to the residents without getting their input. Respect is a two-way street, and it requires us to solicit everyone's opinions in a safe way. We all, like, there are liberals, there are conservatives, it doesn't matter. We're a community, and we want to have a forum that we can have respectful discussions, and I would like to create that forum.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We gave you the extra 15 seconds.
Thank you.
To make up for that. Thanks. I appreciate it. And Mr. Bajwa.
Thank you, Cindy. As a business CEO for your Chamber of Commerce, that's a very good question, because you can only do good business when everyone is on board, on the same table. They have their differences, but they come to a conclusion. Unfortunately, we haven't had that, privilege. Some of the council meetings have been done with only 2 people, 1 people. And to top it off, there was a consul general of China, he wanted to discuss a lot of things with the city and bring in a lot of business to the city. Unfortunately, that was only attended by 2 people, Mr. Yang Shao and Ms. Mayor. The 6 other were not included. So that is a divisive leadership, what we are heading since last 4 years. We need to sit on the table all together and then come with good opinions to encourage businesses. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you. Before we go on, I just want to remind everyone that what we are asking is how you would deal with constituents who offer a differing opinion on an important matter. So I would ask that we stick to that question.
Cindy, I'm so sorry to interject. Do you feel like I didn't answer that question?
No, you did answer it. I'm just.
Okay.
No, that wasn't directed at you, Mr. Shah.
Thank you.
Ms. Khan is the last one, and then we have a rebuttal as well. So Ms. Khan, I'll let you go ahead with your 2 minutes.
Great.
I'm sorry, with your 1 minute. I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. So in order for us to respond to our constituents, first of all, you have to be a very good listener, and to listen to understand them is one thing, and another thing is to be more empathetic, to empathize and acknowledge what they say, and then you also communicate with them very honestly, very sincerely, and be very transparent. I believe like this is the time that we all want to heal, and we have to be very compassionate with our people. A lot of us go through a lot of challenges at this time. So we also want to make sure that whatever you say, you stick to your promise and you be very accountable. If you are giving anybody of anything, if you don't hold them accountable and you are not accountable personally, then it's really like you are lacking trust between the two, yourself and the constituents. At this time, we want to build that trust. We want to make sure that we are also having confidence in each other. So address the issues with facts and data and respect each other's and be very conscious about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. And then we are going to go back to Mayor May for the 30-second rebuttal that you requested.
Sure, thank you. So one of the things that our community prides itself is in having the opportunity for you to participate. And when it came to discussions, whether it's the Housing Navigation Center, Complete Streets for Centerville, or other topics like our master park plan, we have reached out to our community consistently through our city council meeting, through apps, through Open City Hall. And I've had the opportunity to personally go meet with people. And in fact, on New Year's Day, before we had our council retreat to talk about planning for the year, I went out to reach over 100 families in person, door to door, just to ask what's important to them.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
for the time.
Thank you, Mayor May. And then we have another 30-second rebuttal request by Mr. Shaw.
Thank you. I think that, the fact is that the mayor was nowhere to be found for 1 month for the agency. But the big issue here is that what do the people perceive? The people do not perceive that we have an open and transparent government. They perceive that we do actions and then we have all of these meetings later on and all these meetings after the fact, post-mortem meetings. So whatever we're doing, that's fine. But if there's a problem, we should address it and try to take proactive steps to address community concerns because that's the function of government. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shaw. I just want to clarify where that question came from, if I could. Oftentimes, the Fremont Chamber of Commerce stands in front of City Council, and there are council members who treat us with complete disrespect because we don't share their opinions. And there are many issues that the chamber will not, or City Council may or may not share our viewpoints on or our ideology. But as constituents of the city, we expect to be treated with respect. And we're just trying to get a barometer as to how you would react as mayor if we come to you with something you do not understand or do not agree with us on. So that's where that came from. If there was any confusion on that question, perhaps I should have prefaced it with that. So I appreciate everyone trying to answer that the best they could. So we're going to move on and we're going to start. The next question is going to be directed at our mayor, Mayor May. And that question is, do you feel the priorities of the police department reflect the needs of the community? What would you do differently?
Well, this is a great question, and that's one that we invited all of you to join us on. We have listened to the concerns, and unfortunately with some of the national tragedies that have occurred, it really called to question some of the conversations on how we deliver services. But it's not just how we deliver them, but how we fund them and get the programs that are needed. So I'm very proud to have been part of the U.S. Conference of Mayors discussion where we talked about policing and updating that based off of some of the Obama guidelines that were given. And then here in Alameda County, I'm also part of the committee that has been looking at how can we reimagine this. In our city of Fremont in 2016, we recognized that there is a growth of homelessness and wanting to provide those resources. So we did get approval of a MET team, which is providing those key resources and connecting the people to services that they need. And I'm proud to say during this COVID pandemic, we've been able to house 78 of those individuals, but it's an ongoing conversation that we will continue to work on with our community.
Great, thank you, Mayor May. Mr. Shaw?
Thank you. This is a great question because it always goes back to what is the purpose of government and are we serving the needs of the people? And also asking the question, what do residents think? What do businesses think? I know that we have seen a huge uptick in the crime, especially the crimes that impact our daily lives. I've spoken with many business leaders, and business professionals in Fremont, and there's a perception that the police, even if there's like a Naz Khan video of the person who stole your Amazon package, the police won't do anything about it. And that's frustrating as a business owner. I think that we really need to reprioritize, our police department policy so that our police can focus more on the crimes that impact our daily lives, theft, burglaries, car break-ins, all of these issues. And we can do that by strategically partnering with mental health professionals. And it also requires us to think outside the box and have an open mind and not always just be like, no way, as a knee-jerk reaction, because that's not how good policy is implemented. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Mr. Bajwa.
Cindy, the seeds of doubt came into Fremont police when they purged the files, 25 years of files without letting anyone know. No answers to the media, no answers to the community, no answers to anyone. So what I've seen for the last 3 years is the only answer to this is Fremont is the only city which doesn't have an oversight for police. And we direly need it. San Francisco has one, Oakland has one. We are with this census, we are be one of the major cities in the Bay Area. So I propose seriously, whoever becomes the mayor, their first should be to establish Fremont Police Commission, headed by or chaired by a retired judge. Let him lay the rules for public safety, for police accountability, for security, so business can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Khan.
At this time, I guess our citizens are very afraid and they're very scared. Even I receive a lot of emails from people who are physically challenged. They're concerned about how they are protected and what are you going to do to protect us. It's not about only the major crimes, the crimes that comes inside our city from late nights, from the drug trafficking, and also from those people that come vandalize the properties like cars and steal, and those are not really looked into the smaller crimes. And these over time becomes a big crime. So we need to be more looking into physical and cyber securities, reallocate resources, build the trust and confidence in the police department together with our community. The mobile evaluation team, the MET team, which is, we need to make sure that how they are being really effective in our community, you utilize them. It's not always only the sworn offices, the unsworn offices and other resources we can use outside of police department to handle this.
Your time is up. Thank you, Ms. Khan. Mr. Shah, this next question, we're going to start with you. We hear from businesses that their employees are living further and further away and have to commute to work. What is your vision on how to make Fremont more affordable so individuals and families can live and work in Fremont without needing to super commute?
A great question. I think first I do want to say, Mr. Bajwa Singh, he's made so many great points tonight. But anyways, about this question, I think that when we have mixed use zoning, it does not mean 99% condos and one Starbucks on the ground floor, right? We need to have, also have spaces, leases for businesses and, commercial, and think about traffic, school, infrastructure impacts. Strategically, we do need to become a more urban city, but that does not mean filling up every single open space in Fremont with some condo that towers over a single family home, right? It doesn't feel comfortable for a lot of residents, and we need to respect that. But, where we can make improvements is, strategically upzoning places like with the Warm Springs Bar area so that we can build smaller units, denser units that people want to live in, and providing more options for people too. And I think that's step number one to a lot of these issues, ranging from, what you were just saying to even homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shah. Mr. Bajwa.
A good question, Cindy. I agree with you. A lot of restaurant and retail employees are moving into the Central Valley because they can't afford, $1 million home here. So we had, when they were looking for a place for homeless housing navigation center, there were a few proposals, Dakota Road, and then by Auto Mall, and then came down to, the city parking lot. I'm really surprised, how they move around thinking that they're doing the best for the city, and unfortunately they're doing the worst for the city. We need to partner with the developers. We have a very growing senior population right now. We need to partner with developers, offer them city land subsidies, bring them in, have them construct the affordable housing, and then, apply state funds to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bajwa. Ms. Khan.
And I thought so, that's me. So I would say that we do need affordable housing for sure. If the houses are built there, if already out there $1 million, it's people are getting priced out. So we need to bring down the housing price and also more rent control. And together with that, the houses that we can build is more smaller, so it is more cheaper for families to afford it here, and then have more work-life balance, have more businesses in the city, small and medium businesses, also create more jobs in the corporate businesses, like having Cisco type of businesses or corporations in here. Instead of our engineers, we have wealth of engineers, doctors, and everyone here. Instead of having them to travel all around Bay Area, the commute will cut off and we'll have more business in the city. So we'll have more work-life balance. In order to do that, we also need to have people to have more livelihood in here. So that's also another way of creating more entertainment in the city that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. And Mayor May.
So one of the things that we were talking about earlier is how we've been able to address housing. Am I muted? No, I'm not, right? And so I'm proud that in the Warm Springs area, when we built housing, we were talking about not just the house itself, but how to build a community. So down in Warm Springs, we have over 500 homes that are active living for seniors. And the first piece that we were able to complete was the Pauline Weaver housing that was for affordable low-income housing. And in fact, in the last couple of years, we have built the record number for our city for low-income housing. But how do we structure it in terms of building housing that's available for all different types of housing is some of the conversation I was talking about earlier, the residential housing needs assessment. It's not just determined by us, it's set by the state in terms of the allocation as well as the advocacy that's important for us then to get those focus. So we've had affordable by design. We're focusing now on moderate and workforce housing and partnering with organizations such as Habitat for Humanity. They're important for us to be able to provide the affordability and design that we need for our community. Sorry, Cindy, I think you're on mute. I apologize.
Thank you so much. Somehow I lost my screen for a minute there. So we are quickly running out of time, and I do have one question that I think is very important, at least very important for those of us who work at and are chamber members. So we're going to go through that one, and then I want to make sure you each get your 2 minutes at the end. With that, I want to ask, and we are going to start with Mr. Bajwa.
Yes.
And the question is, how do you envision working with the Fremont Chamber of Commerce and the business community in general if you're elected mayor?
Cindy, I really feel for you and for the chamber and for the businesses, especially, what happened in since March, COVID-19. What I would do is I would bring in one of your executives or anyone to head this task force we are proposing, COVID-19 task force for Fremont. That is the only way out that, you guys understand the small business, the big, the medium, everyone is, one of your members, and you have that expertise and professionalism into that rather than just go anywhere else. As a matter of fact, even for this housing navigation center, we had contractors out of Fremont. It's surprising to me. I mean, there's so many contractors in Fremont and we couldn't hire them. And their budget they had was $2.9 million. The modular buildings there cost only about $800,000. So we need professional people like you who understand what it is to run a business and, make this as a livable community, especially with the kids coming in.
Your
Thank you.
time's up, Mr. Bajwa. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ms. Khan. Ms. Khan? Oh, you're there. Okay, I see you now.
I'm sorry, could you please repeat the question?
Of course. How do you envision working with the Fremont Chamber of Commerce and the business community in general if elected mayor?
Thank you very much for the question.
Sure.
I would say that I believe that the Chamber of Commerce plays, of course, a very vital role in the community, and they're doing great. They definitely want all the business to prosper, and they encourage businesses to exchange their ideas and also to work together with each other and have a lot of improvements. Even during COVID-19, they are there to help us to ensure that everybody is getting back to life, have jobs, and improve livelihood in the people. So the success stories of the local businesses will be the important task for me, and also their hardships that at this time they're suffering, their whatever the needs are there, that will also be very important for us to lend our ears and hear from them. And it's just to transform our city to make it more smarter and more embrace everybody and further the interest of it to make sure that we are all equally in it and we together build this community, this city from ground up. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor May?
Sure. So first off, thank you for being part of the small business task force that we worked on this last couple months in terms of how the chamber worked with our economic development department and other historic business districts to provide the PPE to encourage the open businesses. And I think there's an app that some people may have seen in terms of allowing people to know what businesses are open and supporting our local businesses. If you see the open for business signs that are orange, that's a way to do it. And we also have our pop-up patio. And even 2 weeks ago, when we had our State of the City, we ensured that the funding that was being provided was given directly back to the chamber, as well as for a Yifty gift card program, to allow us to have the direct revenue stream, which is critical for the small businesses to be able to thrive in these challenging times. But it doesn't just stop there. On the county level and on the state level, we work with local agencies, with small business development community, with East Bay Community Energy, and getting grants and finding opportunities for training to ensure that our workforce is best prepared.
Thank you, Mayor May. Mr. Shah.
Thank you. There are so many issues that affect our small businesses, and we, over these last 4 years, I think that a lot of these initiatives are great, but at the end of the day, we need to really focus on process improvements. Like, I'm just going to use a very quick example of DBA, doing business as in Fremont. I spoke with someone who actually is a baker. Her name is Cake Lady Laurel is the thing, and her DBA. But in every other city where she does business around the area, she only needs one. But in Fremont, she needs three. One for baking, one for consulting, like hosting parties, and the third one, DBA, is for teaching. Like, it may not affect a lot of people, but these are the small things that really get to the heart of the problem in Fremont and why we are so not business friendly. We have trap fees. I would have a notice that goes out to all businesses reminding them that they need to pay this fine before just fining them. And this is an issue. But just in general, I speak the language. I am a business guy. I got a 710 on my GMAT, by the way, which is pretty high. So, just speaking and having conversations and being proactive about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shah. With that, I think we are going to allow you now each your 2 minutes closing statement, if you would. And Ms. Khan, we're going to start with you.
Yes, I started, so I'm going to end also. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me on this forum. It was a pleasure. Great questions also. It was wonderful hearing from every one of you. I wanted to say that the consequences of COVID-19, where we're losing our friends and families are losing jobs, and social unrest ripping our communities apart, overdevelopment, congested traffic, overcrowded classrooms, losing the trust and confidence in our city government, and the promises that are being broken. So that's making us also feel at this time that quality of life is diminishing. So apart from unforeseen circumstances, others that are controllable issues, this should not happen in our city, or I believe anywhere. So right now at this time, we need to heal, and we need to come together, unite, and just use common sense to complex issues. We need to start from ground up, and we have to build our economy together. We have to build the economy of our city, our nation as well, build the trust and also confidence and a relationship between each other, more of relationship between the police officers. So where we can also have more of the diverse demographics into the police department. As a single mother, I would not want to have any of my children or the generations to feel this and go through this, even not my seniors. So I had been seeing this as an outsider, and that is the reason why I stood up to run for a mayor of Fremont. And I've worked as a manager at US Bank in Fremont, and I've served the community. I helped to go through the financial difficulties. As a radio announcer, I've been listening to people's issues. And at this time, I want to be the voice of the people and come out and solve the problems as I had been solving over 15 years for the community and working with them. So we need to look at the big picture and from ground up, be more ethical, honest, and more accountable for anything that we do. And I want to be making sure that Fremont's families come first. So I hope I can be a considerate, fair, honest, and ethical candidate for you to vote for me. Thank you very much for your time again.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. Mayor May.
Thank you so much again for the opportunity to have been able to serve you for the past 4 years. It's these wonderful discussions that we have, the visits that I have to your businesses, the ribbon cuttings, the supporting processes that encourage people to have been able to support me Organizations like our Fremont firefighters, the Alameda County Building and Construction Trades, Business for Good Government, which is the PAC chamber of the Fremont Chamber of Commerce, and Asian Pacific American Democratic Caucus, and also businesses such as realtors, Bay East Realtors, and our local electeds. I'm proud to be endorsed by also most recently the Mercury News in recognition of my business understanding. And that's important for us in these challenging fiscal times to understand the processes, to look at how we can reimagine and reopen safely, to work with our entities such as our healthcare districts and other business organizations. It's something that I've been had the privilege of being able to do for so many years. And many people have also talked about what makes Fremont special. It's the people. And it's all of you who have joined us this evening and the chamber who continue this conversation during the most difficult of times, that when we respond on wildfire, on social issues, and on how we can serve our community, we are stronger when we work together. And that's what I have the privilege of being able to work with my colleagues on the council, my colleagues on the Alameda Mayor Conference, as well as our federal and state leaders. I have the endorsement of Congressmember Ro Khanna, Fiona Ma, Bill Quirk, all the 4 of the Board of Supervisors, Fung La as the county assessor, and also school board members, because having served there, I had the privilege to represent both of them as the president for the California State Asian Pacific Islanders school board members, and currently I serve as this National Asian Pacific Islander representative for National League of Cities, as well as on the U.S. Conference of Mayors representing our city.
Thank you, Mayor May.
Thank you.
Mr. Shah.
Thank you. Organizations endorse the incumbent all the time. So it really does say something when a Democrat does not receive the endorsement of local Democrats. We have to ask, why is this? I'm endorsed by business leaders from CEOs, CIOs, to even the chair of the Pan IIT 2020 Global Conference for all IITs in the world. Why is that? I'm the Democratic Party choice, but I also feel like I'm the people's choice in many ways. The choice for Fremont residents who are tired of the status quo and businesses who just want long-term structural change for the better. Let me be clear, the mayor has inherited a very safe city, but we are on the wrong track. In these last 4 years, public safety has gone down, our quality of life has decreased. We've seen 15 to 20% increases in theft, with highs of over 3,500 incidents per year, commercial burglaries, car break-ins, never been higher in recent years. As mayor, I will leverage my industry, technology, and my legal experience. I will bring my background as VP of Droisis, a global technology company with offices in India and the United States, to make Fremont more efficient. I will ensure that Fremont taxpayers, get the best bang for their buck, really. And with COVID, we are facing a budget shortfall. I'm strongly in favor of removing trap fees by the city for businesses and providing all businesses more support, especially those who are not native English speakers. As mayor, I will level the playing field by holding businesses to transparent standards, not just giving preferences to big players like Tesla. Ultimately, I think true leadership is working with everyone in your community, not just with a select few. Respecting business issues and needs and not dismissing them. It's about being honest as well, not concurrently telling some supporters one thing and other supporters another, and certainly not lying about who is funding your campaign. I care about public safety, affordable housing, transparent government and process, and I want to make Fremont a transparent government, and I will listen to resident and business concerns. I believe we just have the right to dream of a better future, and I respectfully ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shah. And finally, Mr. Bajwa, I think we've lost him.
No, I'm here, Cindy.
Oh, okay. You're not on my screen anymore. Okay, great. Well, thank you. You're closing. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Cindy, and thanks to Robson. We need united leadership. We need a council which works together. We've seen the last 4 years, they've been just lip service on social issues, the racial issues, accountability. They've been just a lip service for transparency. I won't be holding private meetings or secret meetings in the city chamber or city offices with the foreign government and not disclosing what was discussed that time. there was another issue that one of the councilmen, the city attorney said, you have to impeach her and censure her. That is their terminology they do use in local governments. If someone is off the line, they've crossed so many lines that you have to impeach them. And that was put down authoritatively by the mayor. So things like that, they need to go off from the city of Fremont, because the future lives here. We should have our, eyes on good things, not hiding everything. Let us have this COVID task force, and let's all work together, to build everything, because the future lives there. And the last thing I want to say, Cindy, to you is, I was really appalled and surprised, even everyone in America was, that we had a threat to 23 schools in Fremont Unified School District. And they never had a meeting with the parents or the students as of yet. It's so surprising. How can you imagine to have those people doing business in Fremont when their kids are not safe? Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you. And I just want to, in complete transparency, I just want to let you know that there was a request for rebuttal, but because, meaning that someone disagreed with the statement that was made, but because we are in the closing statements, we are unable to grant that, unfortunately. But I did want to call that to your attention. With that, I want to thank you so much for your time this evening, and thank you to all of our candidates for being with us here today and doing your very best to adhere to the rules and for your professionalism. And I want to also acknowledge and thank Robeson Homes for providing us with the resources to do this. So with that, I am going to say, please get out and vote. It is so very important right now. Doesn't matter who you vote for, just vote. Just get out there and start voting. And again, thank you to our candidates. Best of luck to all of you. And we look forward to working with whomever is our new mayor. So thank you so much and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good
for
night.
your time this evening. Be safe and stay
Thank
healthy.
you.